Ever wonder how you can crush it at work, totally confident, decisive, in control, and then fold like a cheap suit the second you have to hit a drive in front of people? Yeah. Well, welcome to golf. And this episode, we're talking about why high achievers struggle with the game and how to finally get your brain on board. Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, my golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. I am super happy that you are here and you're listening. And I hope you're having an amazing time. I just wrapped up a call with one of my longest standing clients. I used to call him my oldest client. He was like, he's not my oldest aged client, but he's my longest standing client. So I want to give a shout out to Briz and Kayla, who he has suggested she listens to the podcast. And he told me that she was listening. So hi, Kayla. And I want to talk about people like Briz, who is a high achiever. This is not Briz's story, so to speak. But I have a lot of clients that are high achievers who are doctors and lawyers and CEOs and own businesses and bankers and Wall Street dudes and in the medical field, just very successful people, even in other sports. They played maybe college soccer or had a client who was a semi-pro baseball player. And so very high achieving people, successful people who come to the game of golf and go, what the heck is happening? I'm super successful in other areas of my life. I can do this. I know how to control my mind. I have confidence. I know what the heck I'm doing. And I go and I stand on the first tee and I can't hit it 20 yards forward and get it over the rough. Like, what's wrong with me? And if this resonates with you, or maybe someone you know, I want you to keep listening. It came up in a call that I had the other day in Your Mental Caddy. We started talking about people who are just like, what is going on? I'm so good in other areas of my life. And I just feel like golf is so challenging mentally. I should be more confident. And I know how to do all the things. And I study and I learn. And I still feel like I'm coming up short. Like, what is it about golf? And so I want to talk about that. One of the things that we discussed is that most high achievers, I think, like control. They have a lot of control. They control their environment. They control the people that they're with, maybe. They can control their mind and their confidence. They can really control outcomes a lot of times, or they become very predictable. And the thing is that on the golf course, there's very little things that you can control. And this is frustrating. This is a challenge. This is uncomfortable and not familiar. So a high achiever, which I think golf attracts a lot of high achievers, but golf is just something that the list of things that you can't control is much greater than the things you can control. And you may have heard me say this before in another podcast, but I'll say it again. You can't control your tee time and the people you play with and the course conditions, maybe the course that you're playing, if you're playing in tournaments. You can't control pace of play. You can't control words people say. You can't control bounces and lies and good luck or bad luck or weather. You can't control if the wind blows or it doesn't blow. And for a person who loves control, particularly my high achievers, this is very mentally challenging. We end up arguing with it. Because the truth is, the things that you can control in golf are your thoughts, your emotions, your own personal pace of play, your course management, your pre-shot routine, and how you prepared, how much sleep you got, and how you hydrate and feed your body. I mean, those are the things that you can control. And your thoughts about the things that you can't control. So when you start arguing with yourself that you should be able to control a lot of things because I control things everywhere else, it becomes very challenging mentally on the golf course because there is nothing predictable or certain about the game of golf. And us high achievers do not like that at all. The other thing is that golf, I think, has a tendency to breed as well as attract a lot of perfectionists. And there's a fine line where perfectionism is not a useful thing, that we're doing it for the wrong reasons. But perfectionism is the striving for excellence, let's say, has served high achievers in the other areas of their life. Like, I work really hard. I put in a lot of time and I put in a lot of effort. I don't want to make any mistakes. in my job environment or the other things that I'm doing. And that works for me. There's like a direct correlation. The harder I work and the more perfect I do things, the more success I have. And then I go to golf, and the harder I work and the more perfect I expect my golf game to be, I'm not having that direct correlation. And this is challenging. Often you can have an inverse correlation, meaning the harder you try and the more you strive for perfectionism, sometimes you do worse. And that can really be a mind F, if you know what I'm saying. Your brain has so much evidence of how this has worked in other places in your life and what is wrong with the game of golf. But that's not it. You don't say what is wrong with the game of golf. You say what is wrong with me. And that's where it's challenging. Because off of the golf course, high achievers have a tendency to have their own back. I've asked a lot of the clients, like, what happens at work when you're running a business and you try a new product, let's say, and it doesn't work, it flops. Do you beat the crap out of yourself? And the answer is usually no. We just evaluate what worked and what didn't work, and we move forward. We don't have time to sit there and beat ourselves up about it. We quickly pivot and we make a new decision. Right? But on the golf course, we're not doing that. We're beating the crap out of ourselves. So I find a lot of high achievers are also very, very hard on themselves, which makes it more challenging because your brain then becomes really afraid of you because you're going to give it a spanking at 18 if things don't go your way. And the other thing that I think is really challenging is that a lot of people who are very successful have figured things out on their own, have figured things out and worked really hard and created a lot of success. And they have the sentence that I should be able to do this. I'm smart. I know how to work hard. I know how to figure things out. I'm kind of a lone wolf in this. And so if I research it and I study it, I should be able to figure it out, but I'm not. And what should be curiosity on the golf course, like what's happening and why aren't I getting the results that I want, which is what we do in other areas of our life that we're very successful at. What happens is we say, I should be able to do this and I'm not doing it. And so we have judgment. We judge ourselves. And when we judge ourselves, we shut down growth. You stay very static and stuck. You are not going to make any forward motion if you're saying to yourself that I should be able to do this and I'm not. That feels horrible, right? You shame yourself. You judge yourself. So it can sound like I should be able to do this or I should be able to figure it out because I've been able to figure out most other things in my life. And then the second part of that goes with that is like, what's wrong with me? So then it becomes this vicious cycle. We stand on that first tee and we have this little weighted raincoat that's hanging out with us that we need to see some success so that we get to take that should and that shame off of us, that we can figure it out, right? There's so much tension and urgency when high achievers go out and play golf and they're not getting the results that they think they should, or they're not getting the results where they've put in the same amount of time. There's not a direct correlation between how much they care and how much effort they're putting into the game. Then that weighted raincoat and that pressure ends up being the cause of why they're not creating the results. And it becomes this vicious cycle. But the other thing that's really interesting is that a lot of high achievers, because of this, are very resistant to getting help. I find this a lot too with athletes who are really good in other sports, where sports come very easy to them and they consider golf as just a sport. I should be able to do this sport. I'll figure it out. I was really good mentally when I played soccer or baseball or tennis. I can do golf. And I'm just going to share with you, golf is a different animal because effort in most other sports equals results. You can use anger and you can use urgency and you can fuel yourself to work for you. In golf, it will work against you. The crack in the whip on yourself that might work in another sport doesn't work so well in golf. And so I find a lot of high achievers are very resistant to getting help because the sentence in there is that I should be able to figure this out on my own. I'm smart. I'm successful. I've done in other places. And all you do when you do that, and listen, I'm raising my hand. That's me. I'm kind of a lone wolf kind of person. I can figure things out. I'm smart. But it's also the slowest way to get results. And I think it's a lack of acceptance that golf is just a different animal. The things that were serving you in your day-to-day life are not serving you out on the golf course. And these are tools, skills, mindsets, shifts, paradigm shifts, honestly. Like you just look at things differently. Briz was my client who said, there's a Coke can sitting in the driveway. I don't know why he said there's a Coke can sitting in the driveway, other than most of our calls were outside in his garage so I could see his driveway. And he usually has a Diet Coke in his hand. So maybe that's the correlation. But he would say, there's a Coke can sitting in the driveway. And what you see is the front of the Coke can. But you have a way, being me, has a way of showing you and looking at the Coke can from the other side. It's still a Coke can, but you're just looking at it from a different angle. And we can get stuck in this pattern, especially as high achievers, because we think there's one way to do things. And it's the way that we've done things before where we've created a lot of success. So if this is resonating with you or someone you might know, maybe, just maybe, there's a different way to do it. And you do have the skills and you are smart and you can figure things out, but you need some guidance and a reframe and a different way of looking at it. And you got to quit judging yourself that you should be able to do it, because guess what? You're not. I wasn't. I thought for sure I should be able to figure it out. And then I went to that I was broken. Like there's something wrong with me. Because I did have the sentence all the time, I'm smarter than this. And it wasn't until I got help and assistance and let someone show me how to do this a little bit differently, meaning manage my mind. We're not born with that skill. You don't have the liberty of sitting there and waiting and figuring things out and having a glass of wine and sorting it and negotiating, as much as it is about pivoting your emotions quickly. And golf stretches us into emotions that most people don't expose themselves to on the daily. In your work environment, you likely, within the course of 10 minutes, are not experiencing 8 or 9 emotions, that each one of those you need to get back to a place of being calm or certain, most likely. And then you do it for 4 hours straight. Right? It's just not happening because our brain wants to be comfortable and our brain wants to feel safe. So we stay in lanes where we can feel safe. We stay with the things that we know. We stay with the things that feel good, that we feel confident and comfortable in. Every brain does that. So you're most likely not stretching yourself into areas that don't feel safe. And that is the game of golf. Every hole, over and over and over again, the possibility of having multiple emotions that you want to learn how to pivot back to. And you also want to listen to some of the language that you say about yourself and how you treat yourself, the shoulds and the shaming and the not enough, and that you should figure it out, the judgment that you have. Those are only things that are getting in your way. They're not facilitating your growth. And the time, my friend, to work on this is now. It is not to wait till next season if you're in the off season. It's not to wait till you have a club in your hand and it's opening day. It's not until the next member guest. It's not crash coursing it. It's about taking your time and looking at the Coke can from a different angle and working it out on the daily. And I hope you do that by coming and joining me inside your mental caddy, where we work on it every week. I'd love to connect with all of my podcast listeners inside of your mental caddy. The link will be in the description, but it's also school.com/your mental caddy. Keep learning and growing and expanding your mental skills all year long. All right, my friends, I hope to see you there, my fellow high achievers. Welcome. All right, have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.